Hi guys, in this one we are going to create a very simple two-factor authentication system with the use of Django and Twilio. So we will not be using any external libraries. This is a very simple solution that will increase the security of our systems just a little bit, all right? So let me show you what we are going to do. I'm going to put in my admin, so this is the username, and I'm going to type in the password. I'm going to press login, and now we need to wait for the verification code, which I should receive in an SMS. This might take a while, so let's wait a few seconds. And there it is. So let me type it very quickly. 94798 verify, and I'm taken to the home page. And this is exactly what we are going to build. And before we begin, I would encourage you to go through this article that I found online on two-factor authentication. You can find out some pretty cool stuff from here, and the link is of course in the description. For example, we have over here that most people reuse passwords across multiple sites and accounts. So once somebody has your password and username, that person can actually access other web pages, other accounts, and do some damage over there. And in order to prevent this from happening, or making this a little bit more difficult to happen, you can implement two-factor authentication. And our system is going to be pretty easy, pretty simple. We will have basically a user that has an associated code, and every time the user tries to log in, this code will be sent to the device, and in order to actually log into the system, the user needs to put in this verification code, and then the verification code will change over time. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. Alright guys, so before we actually begin, I just want to mention a few words about the upcoming video releases. So this week I will publish the 5th and final part of the Django Amazon Price Tracker project, and then I will publish the 3rd part of the Django Social Network project version 2.0. And now we can focus on our current project. So I started a brand new one and I called it Verify Proj, and currently I'm in the settings py file of this Verify Proj directory. Here, let's scroll to the installed apps list. I added 2 applications, codes, and users. And then I installed Django Crispy Forms. Pip install Django Crispy Forms is the command for this. And I also installed Twilio, all right? Then we have Crispy template pack set to Bootstrap 4. And we have the login URL to login because the default one is accounts login. So we will be using the login required decorator in order to get redirected over here for login purposes. Okay, let's go down and let's see what do we have next. In the templates, I told Django where to look for the additional ones. So in the base directory, I created a new folder called templates, and inside I placed base HTML. And then if we scroll down, I think this is it. Yes, we are done for now with the settings py. We will return to this file in just a second. And now let's take a look at our base HTML. So here, this is just an ordinary Bootstrap template, starter template, where I added the title and I added block content for template inheritance purposes. Right, so yeah, I think we can now focus on our users application. So let's access users, let's go to models, and let's start coding by creating our custom user class. So we need to add a phone number field to our user model in order to store phone numbers, so later we can receive SMS with a verification code. So if we take a look at our Django administration, I created already a super user so that I can log into the Django admin. If we go to the users, here is my user. and we have first name, last name, email address. All right, we would also like to have a phone number if we would like to receive the verification code with the use of SMS. All right, so let's do this very quickly. We need to import AbstractUser, and we can do it from Django contrib auth models, and from here we want to import AbstractUser. Okay, and then let's create a class. Let's call it custom user, which inherits from the AbstractUser. And here let's define this phone number field. Okay, and this is going to be models char field. We can use a third-party package for this. However, let's just make this a little bit simpler. I'm going to put in the char field with the max length is equal to 12. So we will have a phone number and then the country code. So the country code in my case will be +48, and then we will have the phone number. All right, 9 characters. All right, so we have defined the custom user. Now we can actually register it in the settings py file. So let's do it very quickly. Let's do it maybe over here. We need to put in auth user model is equal to users and then custom user. Okay, so now let's save this and let's jump into our codes. So in the codes, we are going to define the verification codes. So let's go to models. Let's create a class code, which inherits from models.model. And here we will have 2 fields, the number, and this is going to be the verification code itself. So let's put it models and then char field. Let's say that we would like to have this number, verification code number, with the max length of 5. And let's set blank is equal to true. So it's an optional field because we are going to do something in the save method. So we will override the save method in just a second. And then we will need to have the user. So here we will have a models one-to-one field. And we need to bring in our custom user. So I'm going to go to users, models, and from here I'm going to import the custom user. And I'm going to place it over here. And then I'm going to put in onDelete is equal to models cascade. Okay, so let's also put in the string representation. And let's return str self number. All right. So as the next step, sorry, I have some technical issues with my mouse. As the next step, let's actually override the save method, okay? So let's put in save, and this will take in self, and then args, and keyword args. And then below, let's put in super, save, and then let's pass in the args and keyword args. And in the middle, let's start working on our code generator. So we could create a utils.py file and put a function over there and then bring it into the save method, but let's do it directly in the save method this time. So I'm going to create a number list, and I'm just going to put in 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Or we could do it another way with the use of list comprehension. So x for x in range 10. Okay, this will give us the same result. Then let's create an empty list for code items. and I'm going to explain this in just a second. Then below, let's create a for loop for I in range 5. And here, what I'm going to do is to, first of all, bring in random. So I'm going to import random. And then with the use of random, we are going to select 5 times an item from this list and add it to the code items. So let's do it very quickly. I'm going to set a variable num that is equal to random choice. And then we are going to pass in the number list. So now we are selecting a particular number, and then let's go to code items and let's append this number. Okay. Then let's create another variable code string, and this is going to be join. So we need to transform the array to a string. So join and then str item, and here we are doing another list comprehension. So join and then str item for item in code items. And finally, let's assign this code string to the number field. So self number is equal to code string. Okay, let's save this and let's create another file, signals py. And here we are going to create a signal. So whenever a custom user is created, then we are going to create a code for this particular user. All right, and then every time we log in, this code will simply change. And we will add this logic to the views. So let's bring in our custom user model. So from users.models, we want to import our custom user. And then from .models, we want to import code. And from Django db.models signals, we want to import post save signal. And we also want to use the receiver decorator. So in order to get it, we need to go to Django and then dispatch. And from here, import the receiver. All right, so let's use this decorator. Let's indicate that we want to use the post save signal, and the sender is going to be the custom user. And here, let's create a function. Let's say post save and then generate code, maybe something like this. Let's pass in the sender, the instance, the created, as well as args and keyword args. If created, and then we will have code objects create, where we need to pass as the user our instance. Okay, so if the user is created, if this is true, it will be only true once the user is created, so only one time. We are creating this code that later will change, as mentioned before, every time we log in. So basically, after login, this code will change, and then if we log in the next time, it will be different. All right, so now we need to go to our apps.py file of this codes application, and here let's put in the ready method. And if you're not familiar in what I'm doing, I'm just going to place in the description a tutorial to Django signals available here on the channel absolutely for free. And this is a tutorial dedicated for beginners so that they can understand better on how Django signals work. So I'm going to save this right now, and I'm going to jump into init.py file. And here let's put in default app config. and then let's put in codes and apps. So the codes, then we have apps, and inside of the apps we have codes config. And now our signals should be set up, should be working. So let's actually try it out. What I'm going to do is to go to something is wrong. Okay, dependency on app with no migration users. So let's do the migrations. Python manage py make migrations, and Python manage py migrate. And here we have an error, migration admin 001 initial is applied before its dependency. What I'm going to do is to actually go to source, just get rid of this, go to users, migrations. I'm going to get rid of this as well, and I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm also going to go to codes, get rid of this as well. Everything will be created from scratch. So let's do it very quickly. Python manage py make migrations, Python manage py migrate, and Python manage py not run server, but let's also create a super user here. And I'm going to put in my admin, and I'm going to set up a password. Okay, and Python manage py run server. Perfect. So now I'm going to go to the admin. Here we need to log in, my user, passwords, and my admin. I used my admin, sorry. My admin. And here we are. So we don't see the users, and this is because we actually need to go to the admin of our codes and our users. So maybe let's do the codes first because they're missing as well. So from .models, we want to import code, and we need to register the model below. So admin site register code. Let's save this and let's go to users, and not models but admin, and here let's bring in our model. So from .models import custom user, and then admin site register custom user. All right, so now let's save this, let's refresh, and here we have it. So let's go to users. Here is my admin, and here are the information that we keep about our user. This is a little bit unorganized. However, I already made a tutorial on Django AbstractUser, so I'm going to leave a link in the description, and over there you will find how to organize this particular template in a proper way. So for this tutorial purposes, we are going to skip this step. Right now, what I would like you to do is to enter your phone number. Just remember to place the country code first, so it should be plus and then the country code and then your phone number. All right, so I'm going to pause over here. I'm going to enter my code, and then I'm going to press save, and we will see each other in a few seconds. All right, so we created this user, my admin, and let's see if the code to this user has been generated. So let's go to codes, and as you can see, here is the code. All right, so this is working. The code has been generated, and as you can see, we have 5 digits. Perfect. So let's go back to Visual Studio Code, and over here let's create another file, but not in the users but in codes, and let's create forms py file, and here we will create a code form. So first of all, let's bring in forms. So from Django, we want to import forms, and then let's create a class that we will name maybe code form. And let's inherit from models, not models, but forms.model form. And let's set up the class meta to indicate that we are dealing with a model that we need to bring in. So we need to go to our models py file. From .models, we want to import code, and right now we can assign to the model code, and we want to have only one field. So let's put in fields. Let's open up a tuple, bring in number, add a comma, and this is basically it. However, let's actually do some changes to this number. So I'm going to define it at the top above the class meta. This is going to be forms char field. And what I want to do is to set up a label. We don't want a label number. Let's set the label to be equal code. And maybe let's also add a help text. So here we can put in, for example, enter SMS verification code. Okay, so now we can actually save it. And now I think we are ready to jump into the views py file. However, we won't do it inside of our applications. Let's just keep everything in the verify proj. So over here, I'm going to create a new file called views py. And over here, we will do the setup for our views. So the first view that we are going to create is going to be the home view. All right. So in order to create it, well, we need to create a very simple function view, which we will name home view. Let's put in the request, and then let's return render. So we need to bring in render from Django shortcuts import render. And then let's return render, and let's pass in the request. Let's put in main HTML. So I'm going to put it directly in the templates. So next to the base HTML, we will have the main HTML. And again, I'm just doing it to make this tutorial a little bit shorter. And we will also need to have a login required decorator for this. So from Django contrib auth decorators, we want to import login required. And let's use it over here. Login required. And I think the home view is ready. We will need to set up the main HTML. Let's also do the login view. Here in this view, we need to get the primary key of the user. So we need to authenticate the user, get the primary key, set it as a session variable, and pass it to the next view where we will have the verification. So actually, maybe we should name this view authentication view, because the login will come after verification. So once we get the verification code, then we are going to log in to our homepage. All right. So what I'm going to do is to create a function view, which will be auth maybe view, something like this. And let's pass in the request. And here the first thing is to actually bring in the authentication form. So we are going to get it from Django. From Django contrib, then we need to go to auth and forms and bring in the authentication form. All right. So here I made a mistake. And let's set a variable form is equal to authentication form. All right, so we instantiated this authentication form, and right now what we need to do is to do a check if we are dealing with a post method. So if request method is post, then we are going to grab the username, and this is going to be request post get and then username like this. And then I'm just going to copy this because we also need to do the same for the password. So let's put in password is equal to request post get password. Okay, and now we can authenticate. So let's do an import from Django contrib auth. Let's import authenticate, and let's authenticate where we will pass in the request. Then we will have the username set as the username that we will get from our form, from our authentication form. And then password will be equal to password. And then what we need to do, and this is extremely important, is to assign this to a user. Okay, so as the next step, what we need to do is to do an if check. If user is not none, then we are going to set a session variable, request session pk, and to this session variable we are going to assign the primary key of the user. All right, and then we can return and redirect. So we need to bring in redirect, and we want to be redirected to the verification page. But first we need to actually create the verification view and of course register our views in the URLs py. So for now I'm going to leave it empty. We will fill it out in just a second, and then we will return over here, not over here, not in the line of the second if, in the line of the first if, return render. Let's pass in the request. Let's set a name, maybe the name for the template. Let's maybe call this auth HTML, and let's pass the form to the template, to this auth HTML. All right, so we have the auth view ready. The final view that we need to create is the verify view. This will take in a request, and the first thing over here is to get our code form. So from codes forms, we want to import our code form. All right, so here let's instantiate code form. Let's pass in request post or none. Let's grab our primary key from here. All right, so in order to do this, we need to put in request session get and then grab this primary key. And as the next step, we need to have the user based on this primary key. So let's grab the user, and we need to put in custom user, which needs to be imported as well. So from users models, we want to import our custom user, and here we can now get it. So custom user objects get, where the primary key, we want to get it by the primary key, where the primary key is going to be this one. All right, so here let's also add a if check. If primary key, then we will grab the user. All right, and then we will have the code. So the code is going to be equal user code, And as the next step, let's create another variable, code user. And this is going to be an f string where we will put in our username and then user code. So this is going to be the unique content that is going to be sent with the SMS. We will have the username and next to it the user code. All right. Okay, so let's proceed and let's do another if check, and let's write down if not request post, and here we will basically send the SMS. So we will have a send SMS functionality. We will apply it later. And why I'm doing this if not request post? Because we don't want this to be sent twice. We only want to have it when we access this particular template which will be assigned to this view. Once we will submit the form, it will also be linked with this view, and then we will have the request post, and then simply the SMS would be sent again. We want to avoid it. So once we access this page, we want to get the SMS code. So when we are not dealing with the post request, in order to submit the form with the post request. Okay, so we don't need this send SMS to be launched twice. We only need it once when we access this page. Okay, so below let's add if form is valid, and here what I'm going to do is to basically get the number from our form. So if we go to forms, here we have the number field. So let's store it in another variable. I'm going to call it num, and this is going to be equal form cleaned data get and number. All right. So now what we need to do is to compare if this code from over here matches the one that we typed. So we can do if str code is equal to num, and in this case what we want to do is to save the code, and this will make the code to be generated again, so we will have a new code. And then we want to log in. So from Django contrib authenticate, let's also bring in login. And now we can pass into the login the request and the user. And then we want to return redirect, and we want to be redirected to the home view. In other case, what we want to do is to return redirect, and we want to be taken to the login page. So again, I'm just going to leave this empty for now. And this is if we are dealing with the form is valid, okay? If we have actually a post request. And if we are not, let's just put in return render. Let's pass in the request. Let's put in maybe as the name of the template verify HTML. And let's also pass to this verify HTML the form. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and save this, and we can go to our URLs.py file. So let's jump very quickly over here and let's register those views. So first of all, what we need to do is to import them. So from .views, we want to import our home view, we want to import our auth view, and our verify view. Okay, so let's put in path, and then home view will be the first one. Let's set a name to home view, And here, let's put in maybe login. And this is going to be auth view. And the name is going to be, maybe let's call this login view. And then we will have path. And here we will put in verify. And this is going to be verify view. And the name is going to be verify view. All right, so I think we are done over here. We now need to fill in the redirects in our views.py file. So if we go to auth view, here we want to be redirected to verify view. Then if we go to our verify view, if we have the situation where our code matches the one that we typed in the form, we want to be taken to the home view. In other case, we want to be taken to the login view again. So yeah, login view. I'm just going to make sure this is how I named this auth view. Yeah, okay. So this should be working. We will check it very soon. Let's jump right now into the templates directory where we will create all these HTML files. So we are getting very close to finishing this tutorial. Hopefully there won't be any complications. So let's put in main HTML. Let's put in auth HTML. And let's also put in verify HTML. All right. So let's begin with the main HTML. This is going to be the most easy one. So let's inherit from base HTML. Let's put in block content. And in the block content, let's put in hello world. Let's save this and then let's jump into the auth view. Auth HTML, sorry. So over here we will have a form. So we'll not only need to inherit from base HTML, but we will also need to load the crispy forms in order to have nice looking forms. All right, so I'm going to put in load and then crispy forms tags. And I'm going to put in the block content. And here, what I'm going to do is first to put in a div with a class equal to row. I'm going to close it off. And inside this div, I'm going to create another one with a class call for. And I'm going to close it off. And I'm going to do some indentations. Okay. And here inside of this div class call for, we are going to have a form with action set to blank with the method equal to post. And I'm going to set autocomplete to off. And then let's close off the form. And here we will have a CSRF token. Below, let's put in the form itself with the crispy filter like this. And we will also need a button type is equal to submit like this. And let's add a class. And here, let's make this button a blue button. So btn primary. Let's put in login. Let's close off the button. And basically, this is it. So to verify HTML, I'm just going to copy everything from here and paste it. It will be, I think it will be pretty much the same, but the login will be changed to verify. All right. So right now we can see if this is working. So let's press enter. We have some errors. Line 32, views py. Let's go to views py. Line 32, if form is valid. Here I should put in pass because we don't have this function just yet. So I think this was the issue. And yeah, this is working. So I'm going to log out right now. So we should be taken to the login, and there it is. And right now, instead of sending the SMS, we are just going to print out this code user in the terminal. So I'm just going to change pass into print and then code user. So let's see what happens. Going to refresh and then my admin and login. And here we have reverse for verify view not found. Let's go to URLs and yeah, verify view like this. Sorry about this mistake, guys. Let's go back. Let's refresh. And I still see the history, but yeah, so the autocomplete of for some reason didn't work, but I'm going to ignore it at least for now. And I'm going to log in. And here we have code, enter SMS verification code. So here is our label that we changed, and this is the help text. So let's go to the terminal, and here it is, my admin 5747. So now I'm just going to grab this code and I'm going to put it in, verify, and we have hello world. All right, so let's try to log out. So our code was 5747407, and let's log in again. So my admin, okay, verification code. As you can see, it changed. So maybe I'll try to put this one first. It didn't work, so it took us back to the login page. This is exactly what we wanted to achieve. And then I'm going to put in my admin again. Login, verification code. So here we didn't succeed to log in, so we have it the same. And let's press verify, and as you can see, this did work. So as the next step, we are going to do some coding in the utils.py file, which I'm going to create inside the verify proj. Right now, if you didn't work with Twilio, you should pause the video and jump into another video that is in the description on how to send SMS in Django with Twilio. So this is another tutorial that I created on this channel, and it's absolutely for free. So please pause the video if you haven't used Django with Twilio before. And yeah, I'm just going to paste some code over here, and then I'm going to bring in this function into the views.py file. All right, guys, so here is this function send SMS. And here we have message, client message create. This is from Twilio documentation. And here is the body that we set. Hi, your user and verification code is, and then we are passing this user code. And then we will have a number, which you have to get from Twilio, and the phone number that we are passing. So in order to implement this function in our views, we need to actually import it. So let's go to views. And let's bring it in. So from .utils, we want to import send SMS, and right now we can bring it in over here. So send SMS, and then we need to pass in the code user and the user phone number. All right, so let's actually save this and let's see if this will work. So I'm going to log out, okay, and I'm going to log in again. So my admin password, login, and now let's wait for the verification code. And there it is. All right, so I'm going to put in this code and I'm going to press verify, and it did work. All right, guys, so I think we can finish off over here, and yeah, see you in the next one. Take care and bye-bye.